Picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
Morning, everybody. It is week 3 on Travel Pod Deux. And we are going to be painting this week, obviously. This is the week to get this done. One way or another, it's going to be done. And so what I've done this weekend is went in and puttied some of the seams with the white Tamiya putty. I'm starting to warm to white Tamiya putty. I didn't like it when I started using it. I just have realized the best way to work with it is to let it sit and set up certainly longer than you have to do with Bondo. But if you play by the rules and follow the instructions, it will work very well for you. So that's just something I had to learn. But I'm going in here and I'm trying to sweat out some of these seams. Got a little bit of sandpaper here on a file. The file keeps it nice and flat. The sandpaper sands it the way I want. The file itself would be too rough, but what I like about a file is that it will give me the flat planed surface. So I'm just wrapping some sandpaper around it. But I am working these joints out, and it's coming out very cleanly. I'm very happy with that. So I'm just taking my time. I've got my schedule ahead of me for the week, and if I can allocate today and tomorrow for painting, and then that leaves me Wednesday and Thursday for decaling and Friday for finish. And then it's going to be done. I also worked a bit on the base this weekend as far as getting the strip lighting installed, so that's ready to go. And I'm also trying to get another kit that's off camera because I want it to be a surprise. And I want to try to get that done for Wonderfest next week. And so that's where my attentions are. But obviously this one takes precedent. If I can only get one of them done, it's going to be the travel pod, because I want to be able to bring it. So I'm thinking the best thing to do is to paint, or is to putty and sand and do as much as I can on one side, rather than trying to putty the whole ship and sand the whole ship. Maybe try to paint some of the side by side. I don't know. Now certainly I can sand up a lot of what's going on here on the whole kit before I start dealing with delicate paints. And I am measuring out my white paint, my Tamiya white paint, with a fine tooth eyedropper, because there's not any more to be had yet. So I'm being very careful with that. But we need to put a nice light white coat on here, and then start shading in the grays and the warm grays on the panels themselves. I'm also trying to be very careful to keep the areas masked off for, like, where the these nav holes are. Go ahead and I don't want to get any paint down in those holes. There. And let's see, there's one here where this red light is. I don't want to get any paint in there. So that's what I'm doing today, and hopefully before lunch I can get another base coat on everything. Well, here's a rare shot. I had to take the masking off of the front window so that I could start working about painting this frame. And checking everything, making sure it was looking good, and everybody's still standing. Now, if one of these guys happens to fall, this pod goes up against the wall, because there ain't nothing I can do to get back in there and fix anything. So what I'm doing is I'm marking out the areas where the black is going to be painted around here. So I'm just cutting some strips of vinyl to mark out those areas. Okay, everybody, it is Tuesday. Now, toss out everything I said yesterday about my method of painting, because I certainly did. I just decided that once I had a good color in the brush to go take it everywhere. None of this, oh, I'll finish one side and then move to the other nonsense. I did go around, though, and clean up a lot of the seam work. Still some more of that to do today. Painted in the window frame, touching some more of the grays, and it's actually coming in handy where some of this faceting, this diamond shaping thing is happening, because it's giving me good lines to line up the card against when I am spraying. So as you can see, these big gray areas here are where I have thrown some more primer at it to clean up some seams. But I think we are going to be ready by the end of today to put a clear coat on this and start decaling tomorrow, which could be its own can of worms. I completely understand that. But I'm going to go back in now with some more light grays and kind of clean up some overspray and some spill here. And we'll be ready. This is coming along quite nicely. Alright, so we are coming down to the end of Tuesday evening. It has been a long day, but a fruitful one. And I think I am ready for the decals. So what I want to do before I lay my weary head down tonight is I'm going to give this thing a good coating of satin, clear satin. Let it be setting up all night. And then I'll come back tomorrow and we'll start putting the decals down, because I have a strange feeling that they are going to be their own adventure, shall we say. So we'll pick it up again here tomorrow. Morning, everybody. Welcome back. It is Wednesday. It is the hump day, and we are working on the travel pod. It is also decal day. And the results of decal day, it's either going to be a very happy day for me or a very sad day for me, because these are the decals I have been dealt, and we are going to see how well they go down. Now, the thing about them is they are on blue paper, they are not white backed, so they will end up being a lot brighter than what you see here. They look very burgundy. They are not. They'll probably be a lot redder. Now, this being a printed kit, a garage kit, if you will, a small batch kit, the decals fitting around these curves and everything, that's going to be an issue. And we're going to start with the decals that are the most immutable. This decal has to go here in this location at this time, because it has to fit around these shapes. Now, there are other decals that have more of a fudge factor built into them. So we're going to do the defudged ones first, and then we'll come back and do the fudged ones, because they all have to meet up. They all have to match and coalesce, particularly on the back plate where you have, I will show you on the big plan of decals, where you have these decals here. They have got to match what's coming around top and bottom. So that is, these are the most fudgeable, except for at the spots where they touch, then they're not fudgeable. But I can cut those and make them fit, trim them, snip them, do whatever I got to do. And then, of course, at the end, we will put the number decals down. So we're going to start with these red stripes, and we're going to start with this here. Now, this being a, I hate to say homemade, but a homemade decal, not a professionally produced by a decal company with carrier film and all that. they need to be cut out very close to the bone on where the color is, and particularly where it has to go around objects, it has to be cut even closer to the bone. So we're going to start with like I said, the immutable ones, and then we'll work our way to the more immutable ones. So wish me luck. I will go get the plate of the water bowl and the other accoutrements, and we will get cracking. Alrighty, so far so good. The first two are down, and I'm a happy pappy. Now I took the easy way out, I will admit, because all these had to do was to conform to a curve. They didn't have to go up and over and sink down or between plates. So in many respects, it's not quite the fair test, but they did not rip, they did not tear, they seemed to be fairly strong. I wanted to make sure I could cut them and overlap them. It does create a bit of a dark spot, so I might have to excise the spot where they overlap rather than simply overlapping them, because you don't want a dark spot in your red stripe. And I might want to think about cutting some darts in the places where it really has to take a wild turn, but some of that is baked into the facets of the kit, that it really kind of accentuates those turns, and that's not really the decal's fault. So we're going to let those dry. I think the next step would be to do the top ones on this side. Ooh, that's when it gets scary. Okay, the next one to go on is going to be the big butt puckering one, which is the big showy right in your face all important decal that has to not only go up and down over plating but still match up where these thrusters are, and then that's going to help me gauge where the one that goes on the flat, the one that goes here, is going to have to line up with the edge of that. So yeah, that's all important, and I'm considering whether or not I need to cut this in half to make it easier to work with. But if I do that, it's going to make an ugly opening in the seam. So I think the only way to do it is just to muscle through it, hold my nose, pull out a rosary if I've got one, and just go ahead and put this thing down and see if it's going to cooperate. Whew. Okay, it's down. Luckily there are several ways to align this. You see how the top of just the top of this shape is sticking up? You can align your decal along the top edge of those 4 panels, and that will give you good even spacing. Now the sides they run a little long on purpose so that we can trim those, and we are going to need to do that because you can see how they start kicking back up. The next decal that goes in place over top of that actually overlaps it, so we can cut this off. I'm going to let that dry first though, but I'm going to come back in with a very sharp blade and trim that to where the next decal is going to go up against it. But I'm going to let all of this suck in around the open plating there. Wow, that was less heart attack inducing than I was afraid it was going to be. Well, I'm back. I just took a big stiff drink after getting that decal down. Were some tense moments, I'll tell you. So now the next one, I've got these guys down. I've got this. I'm trying to find things that don't touch each other so that I can let other decals heal while I am putting the next one on. So I think the next ones to do might be, well, it might be the top. If I put this on its top and if I flip this over and did the ones on the bottom, I might end up bumping this top decal. So we're going to let that sit. And I think I can go ahead and do the decals that are on the top of the pod here, and that includes this guy, and then maybe a number or two. I think it's the small one. I think the small one goes there. But those might be the next ones that get done. Alrighty, the top decals are done, and now we can see the violence inherent in the system. Now we can see the what the inherent problem is when you have plating that is so tall, is that decals have to pucker down in and around them, and you get a distorted look at the decal having to do too much work there. So the last one I'm going to put on before lunch is going to be this one here. That's not true. I can put on this one, and then I can put the big number on here, and then that'll kind of finish up this whole side. Okay, this is a dandy place to stop for the time being. Give it a good break for a while. This is where geometry meets, and it's never been one of my favorite subjects, but you can see what happens. This is one thing that decals won't do that paint can, I could paint a straight line here that would dip in and out and do all of the things around the plates that it has to do. Decals won't do that. Decals are a finite width. They're a finite size. So if it buckles inside of a depression, then you've got that much less decal at the top to do anything else. And that's again why the problem with these plates being so prominent is that they suck the decals around them, and it just deforms the stripes. And the fact that in a perfect world, if you had lined up everything correctly, geometry wise, these plates would come out something like that. They're canted at an angle here that is not correct. They were made to look square on the side here, but that's not it's not a square shape. It's a rounded trapezoid, so you would have to cheat the side of this a little bit to make it fit better in the geometry, and then your decal would also have to be similarly deformed so that when you look at it on the side, it would still look straight. And that, my friends, is why you don't put decals over raised plates and have them expect to stay straight. This looks good through here. It looks less good through here because you're asking it to sit on top of a plate and the top edge of the plate, plus still stay along this top edge, which it can't do. So in order to keep these pinstripes straight, it ends up dipping down right here. Now, if I have the time and the energy and the stamina and the strength and the resolve, I might try to paint a line that will fill the rest of this up the way that it should. But I don't think I've got that kind of time, energy, and strength of will to do that. So we're going to let all that dry. We're going to come back to it after I've taken a lunch break. See, even Mr. Compressor agrees. And let's see, we got the top stripe here, we've got the side, we've got the bottom stripe on, we've got the top. I'm just mentally doing a checklist of the things that I need to, here's the grand scheming thing. Without stepping over top of wet decals, there are a ton of these little ancillary, just little nibbits that go here and there that I can put on tomorrow or anytime that will allow me to fill in some plates here and there. But I want to get all this stuff in and dried before I start messing around with that. Morning, everybody. It's Thursday. It's the gateway to the weekend. Woo-hoo! And yesterday I had budgeted, I had allotted, I had constrained myself to 2 days for doing the decaling. I was going to be doing decaling yesterday and today, which would give me time tomorrow to get everything on the base and get it stood up and be done. And I finished basically I finished the decaling yesterday. And not only that, it only took me 2/3 of yesterday to finish the decaling. So here we are on Thursday, and I am ready to put the final flat coat on everything. Once the flat coat is down, there's nothing stopping me from putting it on the base and being done. I gotta tell you, I am seeing these little black spots in my sleep. All these little dotted bits that go on the panels. Glad to be done with that. So we're going to let it warm up a little bit outside. It looks like we might see the sun today. It's been raining at least a portion of every day for like the last week and a half. And before I go to Wonderfest, I have got to get the yard mowed so people don't think the Addams family lives here. So I am hoping for some dry weather. But once it warms up a little bit, I will pop this outside for a scant second or two and put some flat coat on it. And then we'll be able to get it up on the base, and I can work on other things for the rest of the day and tomorrow and maybe into next week in time for Wonderfest. Who knows? Next week is a madhouse week, so better off to get this done and pushed to the side and out of the way. So we're going to let this dry for a bit. The decals that I put on yesterday have sunk down and have conformed to the contours of these panels very well. Keith, I don't know who does your decals, but man, oh man, those are good. They turned out very nice. So the last thing to do would be to, like I said, put it flat coat on it, then see if there are any tiny little touchy touches that need to get done. But first I want to seal all the decals in. I'm going to try to avoid getting any more spray on the windshield here. That could be the last, that could be the last frontier. If I pull this masking off and there's something wrong with the windshield, then I'm going to cry like a small child. And that won't be dignified, and you won't, and it'll haunt your dreams. So we're going to let this sit and come back to it when I am ready to take it outside for the flat coating. Well, I'm back from my morning chores, and I have to tell you, I would have been back a lot sooner, but those devious devils, they went and stuck a Harbor Freight in my own neighborhood. Now, if you don't know what a Harbor Freight is, or if you're international, it is a man cave. It is institutionalized man porn, because it is nothing but tools and sandpaper and files and drill bits, and it's everything. It's all the things that make life worth living. And the closest one to me had been literally on the opposite side of the county, and took me at least 25 minutes to get there, get back. Now there is one that I, on a good day, could throw a stone and maybe hit. It is very close, and I couldn't be happier to have one in my own neighborhood. And that's why I was just sucking in. I didn't even need anything in particular. I was just sucking in the ambiance. One of the things I always get when I'm there is I always pick up one of these because they're dirt cheap and they come in very handy. Just something to have on the wall. But now that it has gone into the shank of the day, I can take this thing out and put the flat coat on it. I said all of that just to build up to the point that, yes, I'm going to go put some flat coat. The shuttle, or the travel pod, is back from having its flat coat on it. I am proud to announce no decals lost their lives in the attempt. Next step is to epoxy this post in and make sure that it's good and square, so that I can run it down into the base. But yeah, while it's on its hood like this, I think I might like to go in and just hit these thrusters with another round of clear canopy glue to make the holes close up. Very happy with those. So I'm thinking probably epoxy better than CA because we've got metal here, and CA, I'd rather use epoxy. So let me take some of the 5-minute stuff and a piece of plastic scrap, and we will mix up a tiny amount so that we can put this post in. I've also got this the tiny right angle square here so that I can make sure that it does go in, and when it settles it is square, particularly since epoxy tends to be slippery and can sometimes let things goosh around like they're not supposed to. Let me get this camera up out of the way, and when we come back it'll all be done. Morning everybody, welcome to Friday. It's the last work day of the week, the last work day on this travel pod, and today it's all about the base. The base. The base. I said it 3 times. Trying to do a little cleanup here. I've got this post that I put in yesterday, and it's nice and secure. It's been curing all night. Now, what I need to do today is going to be both complicated and weird. And if you know me, you know I prefer my things complicated and weird. So I'm right at home. What we need to do is we need to join the wiring between, and we're going to carefully do this, we need to join the wiring between this point and this point, which would seem to be obvious enough, but there's going to be a huge obstacle in the way, and that is we need to put that big faceplate on that has the wonderful artwork on it. We need to put that on between the land and the ship, between the pod and the top of the base, because once we set the whole thing down, let me see if I can get further back here with the camera, we have to set the whole thing down onto this post hole and then slide the base down over it. So it's not going to be as intuitive as you might think it is going to be. I need to get the base out and keep it covered with a nice protective layer. Then after it's all done, we're going to snap this post cover over it, which is going to cover the brass post here with something that hopefully will disappear, being that it's black. And then we will be, for all intents and purposes, done. So the first thing I want to do is take the base, and I want to make sure that it's going to fit flat and flush over top of the base, and make sure that my LED strip is not pushing it up out of the way. No, it seems to be laying nice and flat. See, I don't like that. I don't like that edge here. Now, I'm thinking I want to do what I did with the Grissom base, and that was to put a strip of black vinyl / electrical tape around the edge, because this is going to be a light bleed. And I can go ahead and plug this in, and you're going to see that's going to be a light bleed because I've already got the wire strip. See, I've already got that in there. I kind of like how that looks, but you do see a bit of a light bleed here, so that's kind of nice. That's kind of nice. I was worried about the shape, but no, I think I like that. The other thing that I wish to do before I nail this down, and trust me, it's a belt and suspenders thing. It does not have to be done, but I want to do it, and that is to hot glue the strip in place. Now, the strip has adhesive on the back of it, but we all know that adhesive strip on the adhesive on the back of these strips is not something you want to trust for the rest of your life. So I'll go ahead and turn this off so that you don't get blinded. But I want to just tack this in place here and there with some of the with some hot glue, just to keep it just to keep it out of the danger of it falling or coming loose in, 10 or 20 years. And I think I do want to take the opportunity to pull this up and slide it down just a wee bit, because if I could slide it down, then it is not keeping, see, it's sitting up a little bit higher than the blocking that is going in here, and I think that may be forcing the artwork up a little higher than I want to. So we'll push that down and just make sure that it's lower than those blocks. Okay, let me warm up the hot glue gun and we'll carry on here. Alrighty, it's time to put this base together. After a couple of false starts, I'm trying to be overly clever, and that never goes well. I am ready to stand this thing up. We've got base light here. We've got lights for the ship that you can't see because I want to keep it off frame. All I need to do now is put a bunch of epoxy in there to hold this in place, because I don't want it spinning around really, because this wiring might go wild and decide to get cut. We've got sharp metal here, and even though I have filed it, I still don't want to take any chances with it. So what I think I'd like to do is just take the 1 minute epoxy with the syringe and just kind of squirt some inside there, so that when the post hits it, it'll make contact. Again, not pretty in here, but doesn't really have to be, as long as it's not, I'll clean it out as well as I can. And I don't want to have too many weird reflections going on in there. So it's going to have to be kind of like one swift movement, though, to get it to go in. So it's kind of be one of those, put the epoxy in, throw the epoxy away, push the whole thing down. So let's see. No, if I put any, I'm thinking to myself here, if I put any epoxy or anything thick on here, it's not going to allow the plate to sit flat inside. I shouldn't need adhesive on the plate. If I'm going to tape it down around the edges, that's all I need to worry about. So, steeling up my nerve one last time on this kit, and then we'll be done. Okay, the base is down, the ship is glued, it is epoxied, it has set up for a few minutes, it has solidified. All that's left to do is to remove this material, which luckily for me is something that will simply rip. And there you go, unveiled in all its glory. Now it's plugged in, and we turn on the base. We turn on the base. It's the power that is, there you go. And push the button, and we have travel pod. There is one last area I need to touch up, and now you can see it. It's that white line right there. A thin black bead of paint or tulip will take care of that. Kill the overhead light. You can see the strobing on the top. We have all of our corner lights on. We have all of our inspection lights on. Most importantly, we don't have light where we don't want it. That is the big key. See, I can see where I'm gonna take a strip of black electrical tape and just run it around the edge there to close off that light leak. But we're going to spin this around so I can show you the light over the docking ring. Plus we're getting some spill in here, which is great. That's exactly what I wanted. And then we have the light. Yes, this is. Yeah, this is the hazard here, because this base doesn't want to lay down completely flat. So we're going to see what we can do about that. And huzzah! I have wrapped the edges here with the black electrical tape, and I've gotten rid of that light block. I've also felted the bottom of it so that it'll slide around better, easier, faster, quicker. And the last thing to do, I'm going to go in and touch that white seam. Sorry, you can't see it. This white seam right here. I'm just going to touch that with my tiniest brush, my tiniest paint brush, and then we will be able to say that this is a done kit. And here you go, ladies and gentlemen, the finished pod. Dun dun dun. Took all of my nerve and some of my resolve, but I got that black painted in there on both sides. Very happy with that. Came out easier than I probably have a right to expect, but perhaps the universe realized it owed me one. But look at that. I couldn't be happier with how that turned out. I thought of bringing out the old pod and setting it next to it for a comparison, but it just made me cry. So I thought it was best left so that you wouldn't see the comparison. But there's the lights inside, the lights outside. I would go get the space backdrop to put this on, but frankly, I'm just too tired. Got too much stuff going on right now. Gotta get these things boxed up and ready to go to Louisville, so I don't have time for extraneous activities like that. Look at that. Very nice. I'm rarely as happy with myself as I am with this build. Now, I'm going to find faults, and here's the faults I'm going to find. The decals, they're as good as they can be, but the combination of the decal and the extra thick plating means you've got some silvering around the decals where they didn't quite pucker in, and you can see some, not air trapped behind there, but you can see where it's not laying flat. When I painted those stripes and numbers on the last kit, I didn't have that problem, but they also didn't come out nearly as clean and uniform as these. So that's what I'm going to live with. And time to chuck this in a box and take it down the road. Well, my friends, that is going to be the end of the Travel Pod Deux, the second build. The kit from Cosmic Scale Models. I cannot say enough good things about the fine people at Cosmic Scale Models. Cosmic Scale Models in the UK. Keith has done it again. He has done a superior job at realizing this kit. Now, it still has its, eccentricities, we'll say. He did not go back to, the drawing board and completely re-engineer this kit. He made it a whole lot better than it was. My building of the first one, this pales in comparison to the troubles I had on the first one, and a lot of that was A, not knowing a lot about 3D printing, and B, even if I did, the kit parts weren't that good to start with. So having the parts corrected and professionally printed makes all the difference in the world. It makes it's night and day. It's so much easier to work with stuff when it's done right. And someday I hope round 2 will take a look at this kit and say it's worth producing. It's a lovely subject, and it's something I've always wanted. If I could make a nice big work bee now, I would have the complete Star Trek motion picture model collection, because outside of them doing Epsilon 9 or a V'ger kit, there's not really anything else you could ask for. You got the refits, you got the Katinga, you've got the Vulcan shuttle. Those 3 are available commercially. The work B and the travel pod are about it. Unless you give me 1,000 scale V'ger. That's only, what, 8 AUs or 0.8 AUs in diameter. But I wax poetic, I'm sorry. But a wonderful kit. I'm glad I got to redeem myself on it, because I knew there was a good build in there somewhere. If I could just get through all of the problems with the printing, there's a good kit in there somewhere, and a worthy addition to your collection of Trek kits. So again, thumbs up, Cosmic Scale Models. Keith, you are aces, my friend. But let's talk about next week, because next week's going to be the biggin. It's Wonderfest week, my friends. Now, this is Friday. Obviously, the video goes up on Friday. You're enjoying this on a Saturday or whenever. You could be enjoying this years from now. Maybe I have staying power. Who knows? Next week is going to be a big week here at the Aztek Temple. I got special guests flying in. I have my new friends Wayne Green and Phil Siegel are coming into town, and I've got to get busy getting this place whipped into shape somewhat. And then they're stopping through on their way to Wonderfest. They're going to head down to Charlotte to fly out, as I understand it, and I'm driving, so they're going to beat me there. Even they're going to leave here at the same time, but they'll beat me there because I'm driving and they're flying, even as it is. So that's next Tuesday and Wednesday. Thursday I get into Louisville. Friday the show more or less begins. I know there's no scheduled programming until Saturday, but everybody meets and greets on Friday. It's like tailgating ahead of the big game. So I'm taking the cameras. Obviously, I'm going to take pictures, take video. I don't know how much I'm going to shoot here with Wayne and Phil. We'll see. Well, it depends on what kind of rush people are in, because there's a lot to get done this week, next week. So until the next time I see you, be good. Be good to each other. Hug a child, for God's sake. Treasure them. They're not in your life as long as you want them to be. Be good, be safe, be smart, have fun, build models. Hopefully I'll see you at Wonderfest. If you see me, come up, kick me in the ass. No, don't do it. I'm afraid of what will happen if I tell people to do that. Just come by, say hi. I'll be happy to meet you. And we will see you when we see you.